I was staying with two of my boyfriend Jay's mates, Jim and Jeremy. About an hour before Jay and I made the decision to go to bed, Jim answered the door. It turned out to be Jeremy, but he wasn't by himself, since Jeremy had left his keys behind. Two other guys who resided in the apartment building made him knock on the door in order to go inside. After they entered, I heard what sounded like a fight from the bedroom, where I was standing with the door closed. We heard two unidentified voices saying, "Get down. Get the heck on the ground." As soon as I woke Jay up, Jay wanted to go investigate, but I persuaded him to stay in the bedroom with me instead. There were sounds of fighting and yelling for what seemed like a few minutes, and then there was complete silence. Jim was lying on the ground with what we subsequently discovered to be a barbed-spiked object protruding from his chest as we opened the bedroom door. Jeremy was making a 911 call. When the police arrived, Jay allowed them in and showed them to the suite we were in because the apartment complex lacked a doorbell system for granting access. Following that, they divided the three of us and placed us in the backs of three different police cars while the paramedics worked to save Jim. Regrettably, they were unable to save him. He passed away at the flat. When the paramedics brought him out to the ambulance, I thought he was dead, but they continued to work on him for at least 5 minutes after that. Once more, the cops kept us apart the entire time they took us to be questioned. After about 12 hours, they were prepared to release us, but they informed us that we were not permitted to return to the flat since it was still an active crime scene. The police wouldn't let us take anything from the flat, so they dropped us off at a coffee shop without any money, phones, wallets, or even shoes on our feet. They put us in police cars to question us. After arriving at a friend's house, we stayed there for 4 or 5 days before being allowed to return to the flat. My first task was to tidy up the blood, which, as you can probably understand, was difficult to deal with. It was quite distressing. My English is not the best, so sorry in advance. My dad had a mysterious girlfriend. Her family has a significant role in the cartels in Mexico. I don't have details, so don't ask for them. Anyway, following an odd car accident, she died in his arms before he was sent to prison. It's something to do with her. He became insane. In our apartment at the time were my dad, my cousin, and me when I was 17. Her sister began hanging around the apartment a lot after she passed away. There's nothing positive to say about that. She became a little crazy, took some of our stuff, including my most valuable item at the time, a PSP, and vanished. Dad gets sent to prison, so my slightly older cousin and I are the only ones left in the flat. We both lost our jobs at the same subcontracting company, me and my cousin. Then, he decided it would be best to discuss what had put my father in corrections. There's nothing positive to say about that. His girlfriend picks him up so they can travel about 120 miles for a day's business trip. I'm 18. I'm by myself. The power has been turned off. Not even my goddamned PSP to kill time with. I smoke on a blunt. I take a nap. At 9 o'clock at night, I wake up. My cousin ought to have returned by now. My cousin is not on the phone. In a way, my cousin is a jerk. I continued to smoke. I heard a knock and I thought he'd been gone quite long enough. The door knocked again. I was way too high to be messed with. I took the door's bolt off. Now, why does the door swing right into my nose? That hurts, that's for sure. Ignore my cousin. He's a jerk, did I say that? That's the barrel of a Beretta M9, not my cousin. That's my dad's deceased girlfriend's sister. I am sober all of a sudden. Why are the two armed Mexican guerrillas accompanying her, and who are they? What on earth has my cousin become involved in? Imagine how hilarious it would be to see all three of them covered in exorcism vomit. It's not vomit, though. Rather, words are going to be released from a mind that is unsure of what these words will be, and with a careless, numb tongue. Where the heck is my PSP, you crazy person? They intend to murder me. They'll shoot me dead, and then it will just be a few more slang cricket chirps. Illegal activity in this hellhole of a city that is appropriately called a ghetto. But she chose to overlook this. Where is her baby stroller? She asks. I have a gorilla that wants to take my cat with it. My mouth is still trying to murder me. There won't be a stroller for them. This person is insane. Does she even own a child? Fade to black. When I awoke, the apartment was completely destroyed. My entire body had been kicked, even my butt. Our vehicle had vanished. Lately, my mother has been baking a lot of brownies. She made a batch this specific day that was better than any previous batch she had made. For some reason, we didn't finish them after eating a couple, so we left them out on the kitchen counter. Later that evening, my sister, Mom, and I all went to bed while my dad was out at a meeting. My mom didn't think she needed to lock the doors before going to bed because she knew my dad would be home shortly. When my dad arrived in the driveway, we were all asleep. His bike was outside, and our garage was open. That was the first thing he noticed. He then turned around and looked inside the house. A man was standing in our kitchen. Initially, my dad thought one of his buddies had dropped by and wanted to borrow his bike, but he waited for my dad to get home before approaching him. Then the man bolted out the back door. My father initiated a chase but ended it quickly. He wanted to make sure we were okay because he knew we were inside. Now that everyone was downstairs, we all noticed something. The kitchen table would have been the first thing the burglar saw when he entered our home. There were 3 wallets on the kitchen table, untouched. When we looked closer, we discovered the brownie plate was entirely ruined. The burglar had ignored our valuables in favor of the brownies when breaking into our home. I wasn't so much afraid that we had been somewhat robbed as I was disappointed that we couldn't finish them. Besides my dad having trouble sleeping for a few days, and my mom and dad buying an alarm system for the house, we were all very spooked. But other than that, we only lost some brownies.